Hello, friends, and welcome to the Cold War Preppers Monday night nonfiction book club. And golly, welcome everybody. We've got a couple here already. Thank you for being here. Gil's live is just now ending, so there's a couple here already from there. Little Lone Prepper, Scott and Kaylin, Sumi. I saw you all over there. Hello, Tofu. Welcome. Good evening. Diana too. Welcome. Utah Mike, I think I just said, but I'll make sure I do. Aldo Schmadak, hello. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope all is well there on your end. And so while we're waiting for things, there's a couple of things that are kind of, whoa. The world has definitely changed in the last. Texas Redleg, hey, how you doing? Long time no see. Great to see you. So, whoops, Helen went inside the bedroom. Just one quick second. I am so sorry about that. I had asked Helen to watch the water. I had it boiling so I could get another cup of hot chocolate. And instead, she poured me a glass of eggnog. And so she walked off, and it was still boiling, and it started boiling. So I had to get that taken care of. Oh, Aldo, I'm so sorry to hear that. Gosh, losing Dad is probably one of the biggest losses. Honest to gosh, my dad passed away December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day, 2011, right after my daughter graduated from college. So I miss him to this day. I mean, it's been, 13 years, and I still miss him. I try to talk to him every night. And, I probably one of the biggest things in my life, when Allison was born, I called him and said, "Hey, Dad, it's a girl." And he says, "Okay." And we started talking, and I said, I'm worried. And he says, "Why?" I said, "Because, when I was growing up, I had all the questions. You had all the answers." I said, "I don't have all the answers. I'm still asking all the questions." He said, "Hell, son, there's no good parenting book." He said, "You'll do fine. You'll do the exact same thing I did. You'll wing it to the best of your abilities." And that's kind of the way parents are. They do it the best they can, and we take what was good, we throw away what was bad, and move on from there. But Aldo, I'm sorry for your loss, and I certainly hope that you have nothing but good memories, and that they stay with you forever and ever. Let me catch up here. I saw Gil come in. Gil, welcome. Good evening. Scott Hummer, and then let me see. Teresa Y56. Hello. Good evening. Tuck by V. B1. Oh wow, Gil, I'm sorry to hear that. It's losing a parent is difficult. Losing a spouse is difficult. Losing a child, I don't think I could ever even conceive that. But definitely, especially if you lose one during the holiday season, that's tough. So that's unfair to say. For some reason, it seems like it's tougher, but gosh, that would be a disservice to say that, because every time we lose a family member, it's just, it rips a piece of your heart out that just cannot be filled by anything else. So our prayers go with you, Aldo. Our prayers go with you. So let me get into, I want to share a couple things with you here. I don't want to get too much into everything that's going on. I do want to let you know, beware of the extremists. There are those out there who don't study Bible history, who don't study the original text, who will take a line of the Bible out of context and build a whole philosophy around that. So right now, we have seen that the rebels, we're going to call them, have taken over Syria, have taken over Damascus, and have basically kicked Assad out of the country. So I want to show something to you, and then I want to caution you on some other things. And so let's take a look at how complicated Syria really is. And let me see, here we go. So if we take a look at Syria, the Assad government basically controlled all the areas in red. The green were the rebel forces. Now, the rebel forces basically are allied with ISIS or ISIL, and that's this area over here, the black. And so this force and this force, but these forces in the green are basically backed by Turkey. Now, remember that Turkey is in opposition with the goldish color here, which were the Kurds. And so then you've got the reds, which are the Syrian government-controlled areas, no more. So all that is now a vacuum that's going to be occupied by everything else. Down here in this little corner down here, you have this little blue area. That's the Golan Heights. And Syria lost that to Israel as a result of the 1967 war. Okay, so that has become a buffer zone. What we're hearing now is that Turkey has invaded portions of the Kurdish area up here. So Turkey and the Kurds are going at it. Then a lot of the ISIL rebel groups are getting together, and they're going to try to run the country and turn this into basically an extension of with ISIS. I don't know what we could call them. Could we call them like the Taliban in Afghanistan? Can we call them like the Republican Guards of Iran? You tell me what you want to call them. But anyhow, they are not good actors. Okay. Of course, it's not doing us any good either that Israel down here in the southwest is moving in. From what I have heard, this is not confirmed. This is just rumor that Israeli tanks are now on the doorstep of Damascus. Now, there are going to be those who are going to tell you that Isaiah 17 foretells of the destruction of Damascus and that it's the end of the world and all this kinds of stuff. Do me a favor, please study biblical history. Okay, the prophet Isaiah was about the 8th century BC, in the 700s BC. During that time, it was right after the separation of Israel. So right after Solomon, Rehoboam and Jeroboam were the two kings, and they split the kingdom in half. So 10 tribes went to the north, Israel, and two tribes went to the south, Judah or Judea, and that was Judah and Benjamin were the two tribes to the south, and the 10 tribes to the north were up there. So the northern tribes wanted to invade the southern tribes, get a hold of Jerusalem and all that kinds of stuff. So they allied themselves with Damascus, okay? And Isaiah was telling King Ahaz, who was the king at the time, you can read about this both in 1 Kings as well as in Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah. And but he was telling King Ahaz, don't do that. The Babylonians are bad people. We don't want to be allied with them. And if you do, then God will destroy their country. So sure enough, Ahaz aligns himself with Damascus, and Damascus gets wiped out by the Assyrians. Okay, so the Assyrians conquer all of the northern portion of Israel, put in place people who later become known as the Samaritans, and that's that area in between Galilee and Judea. And so that's the Samaritan woman at the well and all that kinds of stuff. But anyhow, those 10 tribes in northern Europe and northern Israel are gone. They're lost. That's the diaspora. Then after Assyria, we have Babylon conquering southern Israel, Judea, and they put them into diaspora. And then King Cyrus of Persia comes in about 490 BC and then releases the Israelis back to their native land, except the Samaritans have pretty much taken over at least half to 2/3 of the northern kingdom. So all of that prophecy in Isaiah 17 has been fulfilled already. Okay, it was all about the war between northern and southern Israel and foretelling. And if you remember, Daniel then goes into the 5 portions of the statue that he sees, and it goes through the 5 great empires that will conquer Israel. And that starts off with Assyria, Babylon, Persia, Greece, and then Rome. So kind of a big deal. So this is not foretelling of the end times, okay? So please don't let people do that to you. Okay, so now I want to go to a different one. You want to stop sharing that one. And what we're going to go into is basically the contents, because it's 10 after, and we can get into the actual contents of what we're here to discuss. So first off, there is going to be a shortage in eggs. So I ordered a can of Algerson Farms dried whole egg powder. Please remember, there's a difference between scrambled eggs and dried whole eggs. So the dried whole eggs can be used for anything. You can even make scrambled eggs out of them. However, the scrambled eggs can only be used for scrambled eggs. If you intend to use it for baking, this is what you want, okay? So there's going to be an egg shortage. They're predicting starting about the 12th of this month. I would say if you want to forestall the rising cost of eggs, do that now, okay? Kaylin, you're absolutely right. Thank you for pointing that out. He has been found. Originally, they thought that his airplane had been shot down or his airplane had crashed. And then he appeared in Moscow. And Господин President Putin has granted him asylum. So, yes, that's where he is. So what does Aldo say? They wave the black standard of jihad, so I call them pure evil. Evil, they want us all gone. They are number one enemy. So yes, I believe that. That there are those who want the downfall of the West. And as I have said, if it is a nuclear war, and it's with what I call respectful country, or a country that has some form of decency to it. And those are going to be the majority of the countries, China, Russia. If there is a nuclear war, it'll all be airbursts so that there will be minimum fallout because they want our resources. And if you use a ground burst, you have long-term fallout and radiation. That's going to keep them from getting the resources. There's only two countries I know of that hate us enough that they would want to contaminate our land in ad infinitum, and that would be North Korea, and that would be Persia and its satellite subsidiaries, which could include ISIS. Okay, so those two, if they got a hold of a nuke, they would have no hesitancy whatsoever in using a nuclear weapon to contaminate our country forever and ever. Okay, here we are. Two great chapters this evening in the Prepper's Workbook. There is a link in the notes so you can get this book. It's a phenomenal book. Strongly recommend it to everybody. I'm using my Academy credit card as a bookmark. So, Chapter 8, Earthquakes. They can be anywhere at any time. He gives basically a rough map of where the majority of them occur. The largest earthquake that has ever hit the United States was the New Madrid fault line in 1812, 1813. And basically the Mississippi River, because of that earthquake, flowed backwards for, I think, a week. There is a fantastic channel. I want to recommend two fantastic channels, as a matter of fact. One of them I watch every single morning, no matter what, and that's Ben Davidson, and it's called Suspicious Observers. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Kaylin watches Ben on a regular basis too. Kaylin, would you put up a link to Ben's website for me, please? And then the other one that I really like is a lady. I think she's out of Arizona, and she's out of Montana or North Dakota. Her name is Mary Greeley, and it's Mary Greeley News, and she primarily does earthquakes. So her earthquakes focus, I'm going to say she's going to spend the vast majority of her time looking at Yellowstone, the Yellowstone caldera, but she also gets into all the other earthquakes around the world. And so she does a really good job of monitoring those. Ben recently, with his polar shift theories, and he's tracking the polar shift as well as all of the flares and CMEs coming off the sun. He has been actively working with another group, and he reports on it quite regularly. I think he had a link this morning where they're trying to see if they can use solar flares and CMEs and the magnetic flux of the sun against the earth to predict when and where earthquakes are going to happen. It's still in its infancy. Thank you, Scott. It's still in its infancy, but they're really trying to see if there is a relationship between solar activity and earthquakes. So one of the things I told you, one of the channels I go to every morning when I first wake up is a channel called windy.com. And the reason I watch windy.com is to find out what the prevailing winds are in case of a nuclear explosion. So the other one I would like for you to plug into your computer and have available to you at all times is one from the United States Geological Service, and that's the USGS earthquake map. And let me see if I can put on comments here. I think I have, nope, banners. There we go, banners. So no, I don't have it. I thought I put it up there, but I didn't. So this is earthquakes.usgs.gov. And but you can see that it also lists all of the other earthquakes we've had. Let me get onto that so that I can use my cursor properly here. Okay, so you can see here we've had a recent one here. This is a magnitude 5.8 in Yerington, Nevada. We've had one over here in the last 48 hours, and that's a 2.5 in Mino, Oklahoma. And over here we have a 3.0 in Howardville, Missouri. This is getting very close to the New Madrid fault line. So, I would pay attention to that. Now we can also zoom out. I'm going to go to the worldwide view here, and you can pretty much see the ring of fire here going up here and down along the west coast. And the diameter of the circle is basically the size of the earthquake. So this one here, fairly large circle of 5.1, fairly large circle of 5.7. Up here in Alaska, we've got a 5.0. We've also got another 5.3, and these are all in the last, when was this one? This one was this morning. 10:48 this morning. And so Alaska, the ring of fire along here in Alaska is getting hit pretty hard. We've got a couple fairly large ones here. We've got a 3.3 in Yerington, Nevada that we showed, and we've got that outer circle here is a 5.8 in Yerington. So that looks like a major aftershock. We've also got some coming down here. Now, this kind of shows you the major fault lines along the tectonic plates around the world. There's another guy, gosh, I wish I could remember his name, but he does a lot of great stuff where he shows and he predicts fairly accurately when there's going to be an earthquake and where, and pretty close to the right magnitude. And it's based off of following all of these tectonic fault lines and where the last one occurred. So let me get out of this one, and then I want to show you the next one, which is going to be, and then I'll check and see where we are as far as chat. Share screen. And we want to look at the fault lines inside the U.S. So this is basically, these are basically where all the fault lines are. So that New Madrid fault line is right around down in here. Okay, let me get on that screen so you can see my cursor. Okay, it's going to be right down in this area along the Mississippi, right here in southeastern Missouri, this area right in here. And you can see there's a whole bunch that comes together down here in Alabama. I am right off of, gosh, can I get this over there? Yeah, there we go. So I am right off of the Balcones fault line, which is right here. So that's, and then of course you have the most famous over here on the West Coast, the San Andreas and other fault lines. Now, these are major lines. They're not, I'm not showing you the minor lines. So to look at how it really looks, this is just Southern California, okay? So we're looking at the Carrizo, Big Bend, Mojave fault line. This is the San Andreas fault line. So, I mean, South California, it goes all the way up here. When I was experiencing the earthquakes that I did, they were up here in Monterey. I was in Monterey for 3 years, and so we had several earthquakes up in that area. Of course, we're just an hour south of San Francisco, which you could probably expect. But, just take a look at how many fault lines there are just in this area. So on that previous map, you would only see these big, thicker red lines. So this is the one you saw for California. They didn't show all these smaller ones, which are basically very active. Okay. So that's why know where you live, know if there's a fault line. Dutch Sense, thank you, Diana, too. Or Tuck by V, thank you. Yes, that's the one I'm thinking of, Dutch Sense. Thank you, guys. Oh, you're fantastic. I can't tell you. Let me see. Let's drain. Yeah, the Aleutians, especially Attu, has had a lot of earthquakes in the last 48 hours. Laura, good evening. Welcome, Mother Earth Garden Club. Let me see who else. Jacob Martin, that's a new name. Thank you for being here. Theoxerus, I can't remember that other guy right now either. I haven't seen anything from him in a while. I'll have to check into that. Tuck by V says, Yellowstone's a non-issue. It's a relief valve stuck in the open position. I sure hope so. There we go. There's Dutch Census Channel. Thank you, Little Lone Prepper. Yeah, that's another great channel. He shows a lot of waves and wave interaction in a wave pool, and how the waves build upon each other. And oh my gosh, the guy really has it together. I mean, he really does some good stuff as far as earthquake predictions. But okay, let's get in here. And so he has one of his tips: can toads predict earthquakes? So during an earthquake, remain calm. If you're indoors, get underneath a door frame. That's going to be your strongest structural point to protect you from anything. Make sure that you stay away from anything glass. Stay away from anything that can fall down on top of you. If there's nothing sturdy to protect you, stand against an interior wall. At least you're going to have some support structure there. Avoid standing near exterior walls. Don't try to cover too much ground. Find a safe place very near to where you are when the earthquake begins. Trying to run or walk to relocate could cause injury. If you're outside, avoid being near the buildings, power lines, trees, and anything else that could fall on you. If you're driving, move the vehicle out of traffic and stop. Afterwards, okay, so afterwards, what's going to become critical, and I'll put links for this in the show notes, but afterwards, what you want to do is there's a couple things you need to have. Number one, make sure you have one of these. This is going to detect any type of natural gas that might be leaking in your home. So the first thing you want to get one of these. This is a non-conducting or non-sparking combination tool. So this one here is to turn off your gas pipe or your gas valve. Okay, and so that's what that's for. And then this one down here is to turn off your water. So this one tool, you can turn off the two things that are going to cause the most damage to your house afterwards. This one, of course, can cause an explosion and fire. This one, of course, can cause flooding. Now, you want to turn both of those off. It may be, that you're a toothpick in a pile of wood, because if there's a main that's broken, whether it be gas or water, you really have to evacuate the area. Make sure you have your go bags ready to go. So a gas leak might be one of the few reasons I would vacate my home. So you want to know that there is a gas leak. This will pick it up before your nose will, and then you want something where you can turn it off just in case. So I would recommend getting those two tools. I will have them in the show notes, links to them on my Amazon account. K5HCR, I should know that, but I don't. Welcome, good to see you. Is that James? I think. That is, there's an awful lot of evidence that says that wild animals know the earth a lot better than we did. As a matter of fact, they say that was one of the major reasons for the old buffalo stampedes, was they were getting out of an area that was going to be subject to an earthquake. Yeah, and that's what this is, Kaylin. So this one has the water down here, okay? You just put that down on top of your water thing, and I have a humongous screwdriver. I also have a what is it called, crowbar that will fit into here so that I can use it as a lever, because if that freezes in the winter, that's hard to turn. So if you get some more leverage on it with a large screwdriver or with a crowbar, you can get that frozen valve shut. And then, of course, this one here fits on top of your gas meter and it turns it off. So this is a combination tool, does water and gas. Yes, the Juan de Fuca has been acting up a lot here in the last month. And you guys have had a couple offshore. Thank God they were offshore. They were about 20 miles offshore and they were about 35 kilometers down. So what we've got is that's where the North American plate is being subducted under the Pacific plate. And so that's one of the worst kinds of earthquakes, by the way, because what happens is you've got one plate that is here and the other one's pushing underneath. And the friction is not, it's not something, it's not a smooth action. So what happens is it pushes and pushes and pushes, and it builds up all this pressure, and it doesn't move. And then all of a sudden, something gives, and it slips. And when it slips, that's what causes the major earthquake. And so that area up around the Cascadia, Juan de Fuca plates is really ripe for a major tsunami. That's what they're predicting. They're predicting basically that what is that bay there that Spokane's in? I forget the name of it. Old age, I'm sorry. But they're saying that's going to basically turn into nothing but a big lake. That Seattle, Tacoma, they're going to be gone. Okay, no big words, tucked by V1. Animals may be reacting to piezoelectric action in the bedrock below them that occurs in the moments before. I'm going to say Puget Sound. Thank you, Scott. I'm going to say yes, I agree with that. I don't know what you're saying, but it sounds good, so I'm going to agree with it. Okay. Add an earthquake preparation kit to your existing supplies. That's going to be basically your bug out bag. That's going to be something that you can use to evacuate the area and stay away anywhere from 3 days to a week. Now, chances are, when we're talking about earthquakes, that you probably will be allowed back inside your home within a week if it's declared to be structurally sturdy, if they've got all the gas mains shut off so that you don't have any more leaking gas, no chance of explosion, all that kinds of stuff. So I would say, be prepared to live in a hotel with a relative, with a family member, or whatever, for about anywhere from 3 days to a week. But be prepared for that. To give some ideas about weekend projects, secure your furniture. I think I told you my story about my friend who used to be the pianist, the keyboard player for the Playboy Mansion, and they were gone when the Northridge earthquake hit, and they got back, and there was a bookshelf next to his daughter's bed, and had they been home, that bookshelf would have fallen on top of her bed and crushed her head. That's what convinced them to come to Central Texas. And then he's standing out in the middle of the street watching an F5 hurricane come down the F5 tornado come down the street. But anyhow, so make sure you have everything structurally sound against the wall if you live in a hurricane, in a earthquake-prone area. Keep objects on shelves in place. I was going to show you. We bought this furniture in Germany back in 1984, 40 years ago. Golly. But anyhow, it's got all of our Wedgwood and all the other China and the crystal and everything else. And the way the Germans do it is they've got holders, so everything gets held in place. So it's really nice as far as protecting all of our China and stemware. But we haven't secured it in this house like we did in our last house. It was actually, I had the wall constructed so that there was actually a support beam across between the 2x6s for the frame so that I could hang that on the wall. I did not do it with this house. Install fasteners on your cabinet doors so that they don't open and everything spill out while you're doing it. Install seismic gas shutoff valves. Secure small and decorative items. Mind your hazardous materials. Keep paths of egress clear. That means don't clutter up your doors or your exits to your house or anything like that. Plan several evacuation routes. Absolutely essential. Okay. So we got basically 4 basic directions here from the house. We can go north, south, east, or west, and it all depends on where it is. Now, recently, I'm going to say, gosh, maybe 6 months ago, a year ago, up in Georgetown, they had an underground natural gas leak, main line leak. And they basically evacuated around a half-mile radius around that intersection. And that was Williams Drive and I-35. And so that whole area, I mean, was just totally evacuated. And they said that the natural gas was coming up through the ground, through the grass and through the earth. And but that they had that shut down. Gosh, I'm going to say that took a healthy 3 months to get all that back in order. I wasn't up there that frequently. I'm going to say that I'm going to guess that, but it could have been shorter, it could have been longer. But I'm going to say probably around 90 days to get that whole area straightened out. That was something else. Conduct annual earthquake drills at home and work. Absolutely. Here's a funny one. I don't know if you know it or not, but they caught the guy that they suspect killed the CEO of United Healthcare. His suppressor on his thing didn't work, and it was loud like it should not have been. And that tells you practice with the tools that you're going to be using. He had never used it, and so therefore it made noise and not silent like he had expected. But evidently they captured him, and he's got a manifesto and everything. Other big projects to consider: bolt your home to the foundation, fortify a soft story. If you live in a manufactured home, please make sure that you have it as anchored as possible, that it's those things are magnets for earthquakes and for tornadoes. I don't know why. Consider adding a shear wall to any new construction. That's just basically a wall that is a solid wall so that it won't crumble. Okay, so that kind of covers all that portion. Then we're going to get into winter storms. Another piece that I want to caution you about. So not only do we have to worry about the terrorists, ISIS / Taliban terrorists and things like that. Also have to worry about all the criminal factions from Tren de Aragua that are here in the States. But now there's a new one. So we had the jury decision. It was a hung jury on the charge of second-degree murder for Daniel Penny in New York. And then the judge had originally said that they couldn't find him guilty on the second unless they found him guilty on the first. So they couldn't find him guilty on the negligent homicide unless they found him guilty first of second-degree murder. Well, they didn't find him guilty of second-degree murder. There was a hung jury. So they threw that one charge out. But the judge then allowed them to deliberate on negligent homicide. So the verdict came back yesterday or this morning, not guilty. And so now, what is it? What's the guy's name? Melvin Gross or whatever, the DA for New York is saying that it's all a racial thing. So he's saying that basically what it is that white men are allowed to kill black people in subways and get away with it. So he's turning it into a very, very caustic racial thing. And please be aware that there are those who are trying to turn this into a racially motivated murder, and that there are already sounds of in the major cities there's going to be another summer of love only in the winter of 2024. So it's please be cautious. Please keep your head on a swivel. Please be aware of what's going on around you, because they're trying to turn it into a racial riot, and I don't like that at all. Let's see. Yeah, and the good thing about a Cat 5, and it's probably the only good thing you'll hear me say about it, Tuck by V1, is that at least you have a couple days notice to get prepared for it. With earthquakes and volcanoes and tornadoes, you have very little warning. I mean, it just bang, it's there, and that's not good. Yes, sue me. Great idea. Baby-proof locks on all the covers. We haven't taken any of ours off. We put all our baby-proof locks on all of the cupboards and cabinets and everything else, especially ones over here with the china and the Rosenthal crystal. We didn't want a 1-year-old getting into our crystal and Waterford china. But so we left all that on. We have, however, we had the child-proof doorknobs where you have to kind of grip with 2 fingers through the plastic in order to get the doorknob to. All of those have been taken off because we want to have a quicker egress from the house than what we could with those plastic grips. So even though we have a 6, 4, and 2-year-old grandchildren, we've taken all those baby-proof door things off. We left all the other stuff on. Now the 6-year-old and the 4-year-old can both figure their way through them. No problem whatsoever. So that means that I have to keep trigger locks, and I also have to keep my gun cabinet locked whenever they're around. Whenever they're not around, it's unlocked, so I have easy, quick access to it. It's in my bedroom right next to the bed. I can get things taken care of. I don't know. I heard it was a 9mm ghost gun is what I've heard. That's all I've heard. So you probably have more information than I do. I don't know what it is, but I've noticed the same thing on social media. And I just had a disagreement with another person here in the homeowners association. I don't understand it, but he kept saying, "You're an idiot." And I said, "Wait a minute. If you're going to call me an idiot, at least use the proper form of your, instead of Y-O-U-R, use Y-O-U''re. And then he put out a big thing about I'm a clown. And I said, well, this clown doesn't laugh at things, and I'm glad I gave you some humor. But people just stir things up. They don't. We don't respect each other the way we should, and we don't discuss things. It's crazy. So let me see here. I think that's great. So CERT is one of the best things you can do, in my opinion. I wholeheartedly support and advocate that. As a matter of fact, this was given to me. I went out to the garage and got into my CERT backpack, and this was given to me when I trained with CERT. So that's part of my CERT equipment. Then I'm still working on my general. So I plan on taking my general class license here around the first Saturday in January. We'll let you know how that works out. And as a matter of fact, 2 of the guys that I've talked into becoming hams, 2 of my best friends, we both teach RCIA together. We go to church together. We do a lot of stuff together. One of them's the retired Navy ballistic submarine commander, and the other one is the retired Navy SEAL. And so now both of them are general class and I'm not. So they want me to get in. There's a ham net I told you that we have here in Williamson County every Monday evening at 8:00. And so they want me to get in on that. So I said, well, let me see what I can do about changing my time for my Monday night book club. And maybe I can join you. But I don't want to do that until we've at least finished this book. And then I may change it to 7 p.m. Central Time. So some of the people on the East Coast get a chance to get to bed early. Yakima Proving Grounds, I guess is what you're saying? Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? And the other thing I've noticed is when you have nothing substantial as far as proof or evidence to support your position, then cast aspersions on the character of the other person. And that's one of those other common denominators that people like to do. And the minute they start calling you names, you've won the debate. Okay, chapter 9, Winter Storms. Surviving a winter wonderland. We had 2 ice mageddons here in Central Texas over the course of the last 5 years. I will tell you that a solar system with battery backup does you no good if there's no sun. So there's 2 ways you can have no sun, and I found this out the hard way. Number 1, the skies are great and very little comes through. And number 2, if there's ice and snow packed over your solar panels. Under both of those conditions, you aren't making any solar electricity. So, you're going to be off your battery backup. We almost got to the point where we went out to the garage and got out our 5 kW Honda generator. So just beware. Don't be too overly reliant on solar. And, that you can, don't put too much confidence in it. There are going to be times when you aren't going to have it. Be prepared to go, in the case where we were, up to 2 weeks without electricity. 10 things to do to seal your home. Get your furnace inspected, convert from wood to gas, install, check for carbon monoxide detectors. And that's, I think I have that here. Banners. So here's the non-sparking gas and water shutoff tool that I strongly recommend that you get. Then this is the combustible gas leak detector that I strongly suggest that you get. And then here is the carbon monoxide detector. And I think you all have seen that I keep one over here. I reached it. This is the one I have in the link, but this is the one I have. Notice right now there's 0 parts per million of carbon monoxide in the air that I'm breathing. So I keep that right over there. And I recommend that you have those 3 tools with you at all times, and keep them, where you can access them. Thank you, Kaylin. Yeah, that won't work, will it? Oh no, we'll have to figure out something. So CERT is the Community Emergency Response Team, and it's sponsored by FEMA. They give money to local emergency management departments to build up a volunteer civilian cadre of people to help do things like first aid, set up triage stations, do house-to-house rescue and search. And we also do pods, which is a point of dispensation. So if there were to be a major chemical, biological outbreak and we had to dispense medications, then the CERT volunteers will be manning the pods, the point of dispensation system. And so it's a total of, I want to say I did 4 8-hour Saturdays. So it's about 32 hours of classroom instruction. Included in that was the absolute best first aid kit that I have ever had in my life, and it's called Stop the Bleed. And they had a dummy with all the arteries, and they were actually pumping through stuff. And so supposedly the feeling of the arteries and the tensile strength of the artery itself that you're feeling is the same as a human artery. And so we would go in and push the artery close to stop the bleeding with our finger, and then we'd pack that with fanfold gauze and until we could get a good compression on it, and then we'd wrap that. So I mean, you got to see exactly what you were doing. The dummy was like a human. Everything felt like it was supposed to feel, and just a superior class. I can't emphasize it enough. No, I don't have shutters for my solar panels. Although I do have additional solar panels and another solar system. So I have a Jackery 2000, and I have solar panels for it, so that if these panels go down, that is, they're covered with ice or it's too gray, and I do get some sunlight, I can take that other Jackery outside and allow it to do some charging. Now, the nice thing about the Jackery is I can plug it into the wall before, and like I keep it charged all the time. I have several smaller solar systems to charge my cell phone batteries on my radios, my ham radios, my flashlights, things like that. I keep all those charged all the time. So, maybe once a month, I plug them into the wall just to make sure that they're at 100% charge. But any kind of a battery backup like that is going to do you a lot of good. So let me see. Makes sense. Did not know that, cats and prepping, but thank you for sharing that. Let me see. Okay, so 10 projects, seal your house, furnace inspected, carbon monoxide detectors, protect pipes from freezing. So if you're going to have a really bad freeze, here in Texas, our pipes are only 6 inches underground. The rest of you people up north, this is a normal thing for you. You dig your pipes deeper. I mean, you don't have the problems we have when it freezes. We get a freeze every other year. So, our pipes are more susceptible because they're more exposed. We just don't have to dig them that deep. We have a bigger traffic problem when we have ice storms or snowstorms than you do because we don't have the removal equipment. When I grew up in El Paso, it snowed once a year, and it snowed overnight, and by noon it was all melted off. So there was no need for snow removal equipment. And same thing here in Central Texas. We're even further south than El Paso. So we aren't prepared that way, the way you up north are prepared for it. So that's why it affects us far, far more than it affects you, because you have the remediation tools. We don't. And so we have to protect our pipes from freezing. Some of the ways you can do that: open the doors to your cabinets where your pipes are. Have a slow drip at the pipe that is at the spigot that is furthest away from where your street intake is into the house. And that'll keep all those pipes flowing throughout the house so that moving water doesn't freeze. You can add insulation, clear branches away from your house, have your chimney inspected, install storm windows, winterize your outside water sources. So one of the things that we do here, of course, I think everybody does it, is we cover our spigots, outside spigots, and things like that. Now, if you're inside and you lose power, there are a couple things you can do. So I have 2 5-gallon galvanized pails, and I bought a whole bunch of river rock. So what I will do is I will take the river rock and place it on my grill, and I'll light some charcoal. I will warm the river rock. Then I'll take some, what's it called? Some fireproof gloves, and lift those rocks up, put them inside my 5-gallon galvanized steel pail, bring them in the house, open my oven, and put those warm rocks on the oven. While those rocks are kind of cooling down, they're heating the house and cooling down, I've got another 5-gallon pail worth of stone rocks, river stones, out on the grill warming up. So I'm going to constantly be rotating those two. You can get the alcohol stoves, the Trangia stove. Alcohol burns basically carbon monoxide less. However, anytime you have an open flame in the house, make sure you have a carbon monoxide detector. So probably the best one is going to be to have a alcohol stove. There are tabletop alcohol warmers that you can keep. So I have 2 of them. I keep one here on this table, this dining room table, and then we're going to put the other one in the middle of the coffee table in the living room. So these 2 rooms are kind of joined together. And so we'll have those 2 going. We'll probably have one going, and we'll alternate between the 2. So giving one a chance to cool down, because you don't want it to be warm when you add more alcohol into it. You want it to cool down. So we're probably going to alternate those 2. We'll also use the Trangia stove for cooking if necessary. Now, there's also InstaFire has a machine that they call the Vesta, or is it Vesta has the InstaFire? Anyhow, one of them is the trade name and the other is the product name. You use 3 cans of safe heat inside of it. One can operates the electrical, it's got a special deal where it's heat activated, blows a fan. The other 2 provide the heat so that fan is going to circulate that heat from all 3 cans into your room that you want to be warmed. That's another great way of warming a room. You can create a micro environment by having a tent in your in a larger room, something like your living room. Make sure you put some blankets and bedding down on the ground as extra insulation. Throw some blankets over top of it. You're going to add some insulation there. Then you're going to get inside. Your body heat combined with your exhalations of your body will keep the inside of that warm. You're not trying to warm an entire room, you're warming a very small space with your body heat and your exhalations. So that would be, another way that you could do a good job of keeping heat inside your home during an ice storm. Great idea, Little Lemon Pepper. I will tell you, I had an Onan 5 kW propane generator. I loved that thing, but man, it was maintenance intensive. You had to change the spark plugs every 100 hours. You had to change the air and fuel filters every 100 hours. I mean, you had to spend some time working on it, but it was quiet. It was efficient. It was great. I loved it. So let me see. And the best thing you do, call 311. Tucked by V1. If you call 311, that's the don't dig number, and they will tell you if there's any gas lines on your property in case you're planning on digging down. Tell them you want to put up a ham radio antenna and you need to dig a foundation. Is there any place you can't dig on your property? And they'll tell you whether or not there's any gas lines going through your property. I bet. You can also get those little hand warmers, although very inefficient as far as, they last about 4 hours. They're kind of expensive. They're chemically heated. Let me see, what else would I do in case of, alcohol, Instafire, oven, microenvironments. Just make sure you have plenty of wool blankets. I think that's going to be number one. Another one you can use is there's a company, just a minute. It has 3 candles in one lantern, and Uco candelier is what it's called. Let me see here. Uco candelier. Yeah, okay, so it's Uco. UCO is the name of the manufacturer, and it's the candelier. You can put 3 candles into this one. It looks like a train conductor lantern. It's got a handle and everything else. I can show you mine, but it's in the bedroom right now. We're trying to keep the girls in there. They also have a single candle lantern. The triple lantern is $46. I'm looking at it now on Amazon. And I use the beeswax candles. They last a little bit longer, but the 9-hour white candles, 12-hour beeswax candles, they have 9-hour citronella candles. They have all kinds of different candles. But 3 of those supposedly is enough to warm up water for your hot chocolate. I haven't tried that, but that's another alternative for you, is using candles. I have not tried it. I've heard mixed reviews. There are some people who swear by it, but taking the pots, the clay pots, and inverting them and then having some tea candles underneath, and then you're trapping the smoke and the heat as it rises, and it fills one pot, kind of warms it, then it goes into the next pot, and it goes into the third. So you're capturing all that heat and you're using it to radiate additional heat. I've heard mixed reviews on that, but that's something you might want to consider. Just look for the terracotta clay pot heater, I believe it's what it's called, and you can find those on YouTube. Make sure he's got a great winter home survival checklist, all kinds of items that he recommends that you have. Let me see. There we go. So he's got a checklist of all the items he recommends that you have for your home. Now that continues on to the next page. What to do if you're at home during a storm. Monitor the weather forecast. Make sure you have a good opportunity to monitor NOAA. And so like I said, if you get one of these, this is the GMRS. So I'm not going to get it to go.
Friday night, partly cloudy. A slight chance of showers in the evening. Saturday.
So this is going to be, it's battery operated. I'm going to get the weather no matter what. Get yourself a good radio. Monitor NOAA and all the weather warnings. Make sure you check your preparations before the storm comes if you get any kind of advance notice. Never run a generator indoors. That's, just try to focus on heating one room. Don't try to heat the whole house, okay? You can get much more return for your money if you try to invest in heating one room. Keep your family in that one room. Do everything in that one room. You avoid the rest of the house. Don't forget about your pets, and don't forget to eat, drink, be merry. Don't overexert yourself. Use caution when walking on the snow. Watch out for the ice. There's more broken hips on ice than anything else. If you're traveling, stay on the main roads. Make sure you have communications, whether that be cell phone, radio, whatever. I just installed that GMRS radio in my pickup with antennas, so I'm getting really good distance with that, about 15 miles. Keep your fuel tank always above half. If you can, store extra gasoline in a gas can on your vehicle. Now, if you're going to put it in your trunk, forget it. We don't want to have those fumes in there, okay? If you have a pickup or you have something where you can mount it externally to your vehicle, get a gas can. But if you're going to keep a gas can full of gas inside your vehicle where you can be breathing the fumes, don't do that. Don't leave your vehicle. Remember, your vehicle becomes another micro environment. So you're heating up that vehicle on the inside with your breath, with your body heat and everything else. So you and your family, if you wrap up in blankets and wrap up in sleeping bags, you're going to be fine. Somebody will come for you. Take a flag of some sort, carry a red bandana with you, and then roll your window down, put the red bandana in your window so that it looks like a flag, or you can tie it to your antenna and then roll your window back up so that you got a flag showing that you need help sticking out of your car. And then wrap up in blankets and or sleeping bags. Keep a winter survival kit in your vehicle during the winter. Don't run or do run the engine at short times to heat everything up and to, of course, run anything you might need as far as batteries. Don't remain idle. Make sure you're constantly moving so you have those muscles warm and everything. Watch for signs of frostbite and hypothermia. Do not eat snow, melt it. Do not make yourself visible, or do make yourself visible after the storm. So make sure you're making yourself as visible as possible. One thing that he recommends here I'm going to give you is you can text the word shelter and your zip code to 43362. So write that number down, 43362. Put the shelter and the zip code of where you are, and that will provide you with the nearest storm shelter in case of a winter storm that you can take your family to for safety. Use flashlights as much as you can. Inspect your attic. Make sure you don't have any leaks, especially from your tiles and everything else. Also, you don't want to have, if there's lots of snow or ice, you don't want, and your home is not designed for high capacity snow and ice, it may cause some structural damage. So you have to be aware of that. Remove your snow from the roof as soon as possible. Ensure that all your downspouts are clear. Make sure you understand the advisories, watches, and warnings in the terminology. And that's it. So next week is basically our next to the last week, if I'm not mistaken, chapters 10 and 11. And let me see if we have any appendices that are worth going into here. Yeah, they have some. We'll wrap it up the week after that with the appendix, some recommendations, books for children, things like that that you can get. But so we got basically 2 more weeks left on this book, and then we'll choose another one. If you have a fantastic survival book, nonfiction, that you would recommend that the rest of us read and share, please send that to me. I would love to get your ideas on what our next. Thank you, Utah Mike. So obvious, it's pitiful. I'm so sorry, I forgot that. Mr. Buddy makes a heater, and there's also a Mr. Heater. It operates off of 1-pound propane tanks. I have one, and you saw not last week, but the week before, I got 6 more 1-pound cans of propane for my Mr. Buddy heater. Thank you. How could I forget that? Thank you, Utah Mike. Now that 1 pound of propane or butane is only going to be good for about 6 hours worth of heat. So make sure you plan accordingly. And you also have to be very, very careful about how much flammable fluid or liquids or gases or whatever you have stored. You don't want to have an explosion. So I didn't notice. I'm sorry, Kaylin. It wasn't me. I can tell you that much. Electric blanket powered by a battery station works well. Thank you for that recommendation. That's another good one. Yes, both of them use the same candles. Just one is 3 times more power. Great. I think it's a great little system. John's Life, welcome. Good evening. Good to see you. Great idea. Thank you for sharing that as well. Yeah, and that's what I was saying is my Mr. Buddy, when I use it, I get maybe, and this is at medium to low power, I get about 6 hours worth of heat out of it. So the idea is to warm things up before you use it. Now, here's another thing you can do, okay? I have a wrought iron, what's it called? Waffle maker. And this is for camping, okay? So you can stick it in the fire when you're warming up those coals for your oven that you're going to put in your bucket and put on your oven door. Put your waffle iron in the fire or in the coals and get it warm. And then before you get in your sleeping bag or in your blankets, take that waffle iron and rub it on the insides of your sleeping bag or rub it all over your blankets. And you've got a nice, toasty, warm thing to get into. That's another thing they used to do. So back from Egypt, Greece, Rome, the Middle Ages, up until the 19th century, they had canopy beds. So they had the canopy on top and they had the curtains around. And the whole thing was to create a microcosm, basically what we're doing with that tent inside your house. So that's why it was so nice and warm there. And then before they went to bed, they would have their servants take the bed warmer, which was basically a big waffle iron, and put it in the coals, get it hot, and then they would rub it on the bed so that the bed was nice and warm when they got in. So you had the microcosm, the micro environment. You also had the warm sheets and warm blankets and everything else, and makes for a great warm evening. So that's another great idea. Thanks for sharing that. John's Life, absolutely. And Monday nights are my special night. So my pajamas are over there on the couch. My pillow's over there on the couch. Monday night, and it used to be when we did Tuesday nights too, Monday night and Tuesday night, with the 2 nights a week that I got to sleep by myself. The other 5 nights a week, I have 3 chihuahuas on me. I can't move. And in the summer, that is unbearable. They like to keep me warm, and I don't want to be that much warmer in the summer. Now, in the winter, I don't mind, but in the summer, I do mind. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I don't like the Mylar bags as much as I do. I would recommend, I've said this several times, when I lived in the barracks in Germany during the German winters, I quite often slept under one wool blanket and my whoopee or my poncho liner. And so with those 2, I was very comfortable, very warm, and made it through several very severe German winters with just those 2 things as cover for my sleeping gear. Or melt it. Thank you, Scott. Oh, and I assume that what Pioxerus is pointing out here, I missed it if he said it. But one of the other things, there's a very big misconception I want to make sure that we all understand. When you go to bed in using either blankets or using a sleeping bag, as few clothes as possible when you get into it. And the reason is because right now I am basically heating my shirt. Okay, let me get rid of this. So I'm heating this shirt. I'm heating my inside shirt. Okay, so all my body heat's there. So when I get inside my sleeping bag, or if I were to put this under a blanket and put the blanket on top of me, I'm not doing that much to warm up that airspace in between the blanket and me. And that blanket may actually be better protection for me than my shirt. Okay. So what you want to do is when you get into a sleeping bag, you want to use as few clothes as possible. And then, that'll keep you as warmer. If you go into the bed with your clothes on, you are not going to be as warm or as well protected as if you go in there with fewer clothes on. Let me see. Okay, I think that's it. We are at an hour and 6 minutes, and I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you were surrounded by people who love you and that you were in the presence of those that you love. I don't know. I can't stress it enough. Thank you so much. You guys are just a wonderful chat group to have. You are so kind, polite, and respectful to each other. You support me when I goof up and provide me with the right answers. Thank you so much for being so understanding and so forgiving and so helpful. Thank you for the way you take care of each other and the way you take care of me. It is greatly, greatly. I wish I had you as neighbors. I wish you were here. I know there are one or two of you that I have told you that if anything happens, make your way here, and you have my address and you know where I live. I am very honest in the fact that now is the time to get your group together. Now is the time to find out who you really can trust and who you can't trust. There are lots of people you think you might be able to trust, but when it happens, they're going to become alpha types, and they're going to want things their way, and they may not have them agree to your rules ahead of time. Come up with rules that people can live by, and find the people you can trust. Those are the people you want in your group. Those are the people you want around you if anything happens. And I am afraid that things are going to be warming up here very quickly. City Prepping, I really like his channel. He has a clear head. He said that he predicts that something major is going to happen in the next, I'm going to say week. It was actually less than that, but I don't remember the exact time, so I'm not going to speculate, but I'm going to say it's less than a week. He thinks things are going to happen. But anyhow, Book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24, 25, 26, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and grant you peace. So remember, we are all in this together. And we can only get through this by being kind, polite, and respectful to each other. Thank you for doing that on this channel. I greatly love you for that, because togetherness is the only way we'll see this through. So I will see you all. I hope you all saw my haul video last Saturday. I will be adding, remember that these are going to be, eggs are going to be in short supply here in the near future. This is the most versatile. It's also the cheapest, the dried whole egg powder. I might just put a link for that in the discussion. I think I paid $54 for that can. I would recommend you looking into freeze-dried eggs, powdered eggs, as much as possible. Keep your head on a swivel. Stay away from downtown areas. I have a feeling we're going to have some racial tension that's artificial. It's been created by pressure. And I wish we weren't there, because I wish we could all just love and respect each other for who and what we are. Take care, everybody. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.